is Guardian Radio 99 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good yawning this morning. It is Wednesday, the 1st of September, 2021. And you are on the clock with Erin Greene on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. Today's show is brought to you by the Department of Inland Revenue. And we're going to start the show with a Department of Inland Revenue about the back-to-school VAT holiday. You still have time. Don't miss out on back-to-school VAT holiday. Ensure that your children are fully prepared for the upcoming semester by shopping locally for school supplies VAT-free. All stores must participate. Offer ends 6th of September 2021. To view the full list, visit inlandrevenue.finance.gov.bs/VAT-holiday/. Again, that's inlandrevenue.finance.gov.bs/VAT-holiday/. This message is brought to you by the Department of Inland Revenue. We can't really start this acknowledging that today is September 1st, and we are acknowledging, commemorating the anniversary of Hurricane Dorian. And I want to extend to my brothers and sisters from Abaco, those who have been displaced and have not been able to return home, back to home yet, to those that have lost loved ones and have and will forever feel lost without those loved ones, to those that survived and that stand strong and have replanted themselves in Abaco soil. I want to say good morning. And my heart goes out to you. And all Bahamians stand with you on this anniversary of Hurricane Dorian. I think it's an important thing to note. I want to say that I'm sort of saddened to see that there are no real stories about the anniversary. Now, mind you, we do have, I think in today's Tribune, in the business section, that's up, May? In the business section is where you find one of today's stories about Hurricane Dorian and the recovery. And there's another article in the main section of the Tribune entitled Progress Being Made to Rebuild After Dorian. Now, I haven't scoured the papers yet for the morning. I think they may have been the only two real, except for the op-ed. There's an op-ed in the Guardian today. Sorry, the editorial in the Guardian this morning. It's a wonderful piece. But this lack of coverage, and certainly a lack of coverage on the human impact of the storm, the impact on the lives of the Bahamians that lived through it, and a recording and accounting of the lives of those who didn't. Once again, I think we, the collective we, both we the people and we the government, don't ever forget, we the government, we have failed. We have failed the people of Abaco and Grand Bahama. I haven't forgotten you, Grand Bahama, at all. We're speaking specifically to Abaco right now. It's like we have abandoned the people of Abaco. And this is just unacceptable. Acceptable for Bahamians. It's unacceptable for people who call themselves Christian and for people who declare that this is a Christian nation. We should have done and we should be doing far more for the people of Abaco, people of the Bahamas. And that extends to all the victims of all the survivors of devastating hurricanes and storms and natural disasters. A friend of mine who rode out Joaquin in Long Island experienced at least 3 tornadoes, I want to say, passing through her house. I don't know if us Nassau people understand what that is, what that feels like, how your life is forever changed after experiencing that. And I hope that we never do, right? Like, I'm not wishing it upon anybody. I hope that you never have to experience that. But we know where we live. And we should be prepared for this. For we are the hurricane zone, the hurricane belt. Hurricanes is what we do. It should be a part of our identity, like Junkanoo is a part of our identity. We should have not just one, not just two, but we should have industry built around providing services for people who live in a hurricane zone. From architectural and engineering services straight down to psychological and sociological services. Everything we do. Everything. Anyway, even I was taken aback. Like I really forgot that today is the anniversary of Dorian. And it's because we do not hold it high enough, right? Like we don't hold it where it should be in the public and collective consciousness. We didn't take it seriously. The same way we don't take the lives of other Bahamians, other citizens seriously. But we could change that. We could turn that around. Because we are Bahamians. We are resilient. We are resourceful. We are smart. We are mindful. We understand spaces that we live in. We practice spatial awareness, kindness, generosity. We give of ourselves endlessly. That's who we are. And we could turn this whole thing around. Even if the political directorate, even if the political class, even if the political culture is not on board with us. We the people could do this. We don't need any politicians to tell us how great we are and what we can achieve. In fact, I come here today to ask you a question. Will we continue to limit our national development to the scope of imagination and ingenuity of the political class? Are we going to continue to let the political class tell us who we can be, who we have the potential to be, what we can achieve? imagine and build and create and bring into reality? Are we going to continue to let the limited imagination of the political class direct the development of this country? And, that point is made more salient, like it's brought to the fore. It becomes so clear you can't ignore it in this state of emergency, particularly with the issue of voting. I am nothing but disappointed, almost to the point of depressed, by the commentary from the Minister of Health, Renwood Wells, and the Minister of National Security, Marvin Dames, vis-a-vis voting and accessibility to people who are in quarantine. I was stunned last night when I heard the flippant, dismissive responses of the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Health. You can find these comments yourself in today's Guardian, in the article entitled, "It Appears Unlikely Those Quarantined Will Be Permitted to Vote." And the Minister of Health is quoted as saying, but again, as I have always... Sorry, let me start at the beginning. From the Ministry of Health standpoint, we're taking the position that they probably will not be able to vote. But again, as I've always said, that has to come from the Prime Minister via the Cabinet of the Bahamas. But there are recommendations in that regard by health personnel. And I think about it now, how are you going to let someone who is in quarantine, who has the potential to infect other persons, to go out into a polling station? James said yesterday, there is typically high voter turnout in the Bahamas, and officials are expecting the same this election, as he noted that Bahamians, quote, love, close quotes, election day and voting. Wow. I wonder, it's obvious that these guys didn't think about it. I'm going to give them a bye. They didn't think about it. They could not have thought about it. They could not have thought about it, because if you thought about it, you would remember that it's y'all in this particular administration that told us that we should just relax and chill out because we get to have our say in the voters' booth. Do you think we love voting? Or do you think we see it as our constitutional duty? A duty that underpins the whole country. It is the foundation upon which this democracy rests, that we, the people, vote, determine who takes care of our interests. Not takes care of us, because you're not our mother and our father, but takes care of our interests. Anyway, I'm going to pause right there. I see some callers on the line, and I'm going to take your call. And then I'm going to introduce my guest, and we're going to formally delve into this conversation this morning that I am calling Disenfranchised Voters and Voting Accessibility. And just a little later on in the conversation, in fact, maybe she'll jump in earlier. My guest joining me today is Ms. Erin Brown, disability advocate, inclusion consultant, and disability and compliance trainer. So let me get to the calls right now. Caller, you're on the clock.
Good morning, Erin. How you doing?
Good morning. I am good, thank you.
And good morning to the other Erin again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you touched on tobacco fiesta. I remember my cousin telling me a story, and these folks who save lives should be honored. He tell me a story, say, Peter, how he had to rescue two children in his arms, running through the storm, couldn't see. Only could imagine in his mind where the shelter is.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the tears was flying up and around like missiles, Peter, missiles. And these two children in his arms. And and he have to keep running until he get to the shelter. And then when he tell that story, it caught my eye because I was worrying about him. I was able to see him after a couple of months. And he told me the story was sad. So I'm saying, Erin Greene, folks like these should be on it.
Right.
To be on it for their hero work.
Absolutely.
I have seen it done in Florida. I've seen it done elsewhere. They should be on it. You're talking to Erin.
Right.
There's a lot of disability issues that must be addressed now during this campaign exercise.
Pause 1 second. Kermit, is Erin, morning, are you on?
Good morning. Yes, I am.
Absolutely. Good. The man call your name, so I will make sure you're in the conversation. Go on, sir.
Right, Erin Greene, let me just say, well, in case she don't know, I'm in a wheelchair. I am one of the advocates for disability.
Absolutely.
Throughout my life, and thank God he passed the bill. But there's more to be done. There is so much more to be done, even in the vaccination. I think the NHI should have done what you call a home visit.
For members of the people living with disabilities.
Yeah, of course, they can sign up for it.
Okay.
And because it is with Margaret in a devastated state right now. Who's going to come in a wheelchair around here and sit down and wait so long and get caught?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So that's my contribution, Erin and Erin. Long good. Might be also from the Erin.
But before, look here, could wait.
Go ahead.
Before you go, one of the things I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about in the show, is accessibility for voting, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you, while I have you on the line,
And that's a part of your human rights.
right? How has the process been for you?
Me in the past,
Yeah,
the process was not accommodated
right.
because one time I didn't feel like getting on the table because I signed my documents with my mouth. I can make millions of dollars doing that. And I didn't feel like getting on the table that day. And I had my sister there. And she tried to tell me I cannot authorize my sister to sign my documents. I said, that don't make no sense. Documents are signed all the time by authorization. I write here.
Right.
She tried to insult my intelligence, even if but I'm right here. I'm watching her signing it. And she tried to insult my intelligence. The other lady stepped in and moved on inside. She didn't make no sense.
Yeah.
Because I right here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I understand.
My sister are part of my financial assistance.
Right.
And they do my banking for me, but I'm not there. I'm off the yard and all.
Right. They authorize.
I authorize them from my bank to do those things. So the woman didn't understand authorization.
Wow.
And one way I don't like incapacitated.
Right.
How the hell I could be incapacitated? I can sign my own documents and I can vote. I help choose the candidate. So that word in the future got to be moved.
Well, listen, that's interesting. Thank you, because...
And focus on that, Erin Greene.
Yeah, man.
Erin.
Yes.
Focus on that.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I want to know the original, always remember.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And good morning, Miss Brown. How are you?
Good morning. I am well this morning, coming home from virtual learning.
Oh, wow. Teaching or a student?
No, my daughter, she's sick. I am manning that while I'm doing my work.
Blessings upon you and all of the parents who are
Yes.
homeschooling and working at the same time. You all are the real superheroes.
Yes, agreed.
Absolutely. So I got another caller on the line. Let's get to the caller, and then we're going to delve into the conversation.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, caller. You're on the clock.
What was so I don't know. I was just say it was just disgusting how Bobby Greene flippantly disenfranchised people. Reduced the people who are in quarantine, the people like they in jail, like you lost your rights. So it does make people who sick go and vote. Who know they sick but go sit down online because the government makes no preparation for you to even vote by your phone. But the people that come, I mean, like they could do something, figure out something. Figure out that they put the vote, and then they put the ballot under a ultraviolet light, kill all the germs.
Right.
Something they could do. It's 2021.
There's all kinds of technology and options available that can be used to accommodate.
I think Raymond Wells and Marvin Dean flippantly
Just-
surprise people.
just-
like that's a joke. They don't know. This would be something they effing them.
Listen, thank
That
you.
would save them.
Thank
It
you.
would be the tree vote. I'll make them have a job next month.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. It's an important point you make there. So I got a text here, and I want to sort of tie it all together, right? And the text says, and it uses strong language. I'm going to repeat that language. It says, how the hell someone in quarantine should be able to vote? You are in quarantine. And stop pushing this nonsense about disenfranchisement. I am registered. How come I was not disenfranchised? Stop dumbing down everything. Dummies will not inherit the earth. I could be honest with you. Apparently, none of us on the plantation gonna inherit the earth. So here's what the vibe is: the right to vote. I'm gonna use a word that Gilbert Morris used here, and I think it's an important word. He used the word inviolable, which means never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored, right? Like, your right to vote is inviolable. It is the thing upon which the whole democratic structure of the country sits. That's it. Like, your duty as a citizen is to vote, to participate in the process of choosing who's going to govern us. So, how should someone in quarantine be able to vote? Well, they should be able to vote using the technology and mechanisms available to the state to facilitate that process. You see, in Cayman, currently they voted by proxy, which is somebody came on their behalf to vote for them, authorized, notarized to vote for them, right? In Estonia, they vote electronically in their general elections. And what's fascinating is that we got this quote, this article here from 2018, I think it is. So this would have been after the FNM took the government. And I think this is what it says. June 25th, 2018, from the Nassau Guardian, the government has begun preparing for the implementation of electronic voting for the next general election, according to Minister of National Security Marvin Dames. If implemented, this would represent a paradigm shift in the way the electorate votes. Dames, whose portfolio includes elections, said, ... the post next election will see electronic voting appeared. It says the post next election will see electronic voting appeared first on the Nassau Guardian. So there's a couple of things here. First of all, I'm stunned that Dames would so flippantly sort of like throw away our right to vote. And he was the one who was so committed to creating an electronic system, which could be used, if it existed in this instance, to facilitate people voting. But I think it was either, my caller, but somebody said that, the recommendation that healthcare workers come to the home of the person living with a disability to administer the vaccination, right? So why can't people go to the home of the person who is in quarantine, where they are being quarantined, and facilitate them voting in that space? It's just that you guys act like it's impossible.
Right.
I mean, this time, by them eating peanut butter and jelly on their bread, on their sandwich. And Bahamian politicians here, like, the world will collapse if you try to put these two things on your bread one time. And so I just want to say to that texter that says, stop pushing the nonsense about disenfranchisement. I ain't finished pushing it yet. Because these comments are certainly not as flippant as the comments that Dames made Abaco residents displaced by Dorian, wanting to know where they will vote or where they will, if they will be allowed to return or to vote in their constituency, even though they haven't resettled in that constituency. See, we haven't talked about that yet. What if some of those people were waiting on some of those domes to be erected so that they could return to Abaco in time to be domiciled for the 6 months necessary to qualify to vote in that place? Now, see, I understand the concern about allowing people who are in quarantine because either they have COVID or it is very likely that they contracted COVID. Jamaica in September 2020 had their elections and they had a spike that is associated, like right after, that they associated with the election. Now, we still got to ask the question, was the spike due to the fact that people who were in quarantine were allowed to vote, or was it due to the fact that the protocols were not adhered to by the general population of voters? Right? Like, we haven't determined that yet. But even if we don't want to take that, surely there are options available. And those options would have been more viable if your party didn't call a snap election. You see what I'm saying? If you had given yourself the time that you are allowed by the Constitution, you would have been able to accommodate more people.
Mm-hmm.
Even if at that point in time you had more people in quarantine, certainly you would have had a system to take that into account. Now, I know I talk in plenty, but I got to say this too. The reason that I asked Erin Brown to join me in this conversation today, though, is because we have this habit. See, we are cultural creatures. We have this habit where we don't really care about issues until they severely and detrimentally impact able-bodied people. Right? Like, and this is another issue that we don't care about accessibility to state services and processes like voting unless they affect able-bodied people. Because if we were serious, focused on our commitment to ensuring equitable and equal accessibility to voting for people living with disabilities, then the question of how people in quarantine will vote would have been answered, because we would have already come up with a strategy or had a framework to work from. And so, good morning, Ms. Brown. How are you doing?
Good morning. I am thoroughly enjoying this conversation, especially the callers and the dialogue in the text. It is so important that we have this conversation, and I am in total agreement with you that this type of dialogue should have been engaged and coming from the Parliamentary Registry Department from the onset of registration. Mm-hmm. And as you said, language is very important. Like the first caller said, who is incapacitated? What is that? Mm-hmm. I'm not that. We then have another person stating, well, disenfranchised. What is that? How dare you claim that people are being disenfranchised? Even comparing quarantine or being in quarantine versus being incarcerated, mm-hmm. which is two clearly different things if we're looking from a legal standpoint. Mm-hmm. And then even the term able-bodied. We must, moving forward, have to be very intentful. And if that means that we have to change a lot of our current constitutional verbiage, our current policies, our current procedures, and our protocols, then that is what we indeed need to do in order for our nation to remain sustainable.
Absolutely.
The whole issue of quarantine persons, isn't it of the opinion of all of us, government or the Ministry of Health should know who are in fact in quarantine, out of quarantine, has tested positive, contact tracing has come into play to ensure that persons who may have been impacted are also in quarantine?
Yeah.
And if that is the case, why isn't a system put in place to ensure that they are able to exercise their right to vote?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have plenty.
Okay.
I have plenty
Tell her just stay in the
suggestions,
room.
but I wanna put the sort of harsh critique aside for a second. Sorry, I was just gonna say, because the whole process of governance is now directed by a political agenda to be reelected, and everything suffers at the foot of political expediency. Everything
Yes.
is assessed by its ability to lead us to winning the next election, right? Of words. Erin, I got two callers on the line. I want to get to those calls, then let's take a break, and then let's get into what voters need, what people living with disabilities need to get to the voters' booth, and then we'll read through some more text. So, caller, you're on the clock. Oh, I'm sorry, caller, I missed you. Caller, you're on the clock.
Yes, good morning to you.
Morning.
Yes, we talk about quarantine voters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And voters that's infected, right? But tell me some, are these people all PLPs or people that oppose the government?
Right. No, we have no idea. We can't tell.
Right. So I would feel that won't have no effect on the outcome. It shouldn't have an effect on the outcome.
Ah, so here's my point. We don't care about the outcome.
Right.
It's not my, hold on,
but
here's the point I'm making. It's not
Right.
me to care about. All I could care about is that I am not prevented in any way from having my say.
I agree. Okay,
Yeah.
but watch this now.
Yeah.
The opposition, right? The official opposition cried for an early election. They didn't cry for they didn't address the issue of these voters before.
I look here. You want me to go beat? I could go put the whole PLP over my knee right now and give them a spanking.
Right. So in other words, they don't need to be hearing nothing from them. You see, and when they talk about election reform, you hear them saying anything but what you call it, election date, a fixed date.
Right.
And are the media asking them about it?
I want to suggest to people that they should they should always question, right? Like not question whether the position taken by the FNM ultimately benefits a PLP, whether they're in government or the loyal, right? Like there is nothing for them to oppose because there's nothing there that don't help them.
Right. So whatever issues we go into with this early election, and that's what they want. Remember when the FNM began to address the thing, the 2 times thing?
Yeah.
With the PLP said, "Oh, that's not necessary. That's not necessary." Everything that when it's time for the FNM to address those issues and their mandate, the PLP opposed it every last thing.
Absolutely.
The fixed term, the what you call it, the fixed election date, the 2-term limit, they opposed it all. I mean, when it came up in Parliament, they did that.
Oh yeah, thank you, Paul.
So they need to shut up and shake and stop trying to make everything political. That's the problem we have in this country. Everything is political.
Absolutely.
And about the vaccine, right?
Mm-hmm.
About the vaccine, we know we're going to be in an endemic zone, right? Because the vaccinated, because of these breakthroughs, the vaccinated are cancer. We all are going to catch it.
I got you.
And places like Australia, they're dealing with this what you call it, passport and this thing. You're going to have to be vaccinated to go in them countries when they open up in the right. So we got to get rid of this politics and do what we need to do, man, as a country. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I want people to know that this election is not about politics. It's about governance. And that recenters, that recenters the citizen in the process. Let's see another caller quickly. Caller, you're on the clock. I am sorry, caller. I I can practice. And to my callers, I got to practice cutting you a little sooner so we could accommodate all the callers. I see we got another caller there, Kermit. Caller, you on the clock. I got 30 seconds.
Hi, Erin. I would just like to say something.
Yeah.
We have to move away from politicizing everything. But within this silly season right now, everything is politicized.
Yeah. Everything. Thank you. Caller. You got another caller. Caller, you are on the clock. You got 30 seconds. Good morning.
I can call you back because I want to see something. Can I call you back, please?
Yeah, sure. You can call back.
All right. Thank you, Erin.
Absolutely. So, Kermit, let's go to a break. Erin, when we get back from the break, I'm going to ask the question, should people living with disabilities be allowed to vote in the advance poll? We'll be right back after this break, so stay tuned to On the Clock with Erin Greene on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.
I've been representing all my life. I'm getting ready to make it count this time. Since it's 2021 for your family line, you better get ready. It's about that time. So tell mama to be ready. Tell it to the whole family. The rock the top for two. The count depends on you. So tell Ted to go tell below. Lock it down in now. Since it's 2021, this one's for everyone.
Station, sponsor On the Clock today. Call Janet Lees at 302-2304. That's 302-2304. Be the solution. Sponsor On the Clock with Erin Greene, where she dissects, we discuss, and you decide.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Like what you're hearing on the show? Want to support the conversation? Sponsor On the Clock today. Call Janet Lees at 302-2304. That's 302-2304. Be the solution. Sponsor On the Clock with Erin Greene, where she dissects, we discuss, and you decide.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. You are on the clock with Erin Greene on September the 1st, 2021. And let me just say this. Let me say it, because I feel compelled to say it, right? We could just put the whole election on pause. You know when you go to the store with your mommy and you crying and you're moaning and you're annoying her for something, and she tell you we could all go home right now, so everything we're doing, we could cancel the whole election and appoint an interim government. If y'all think you're going to treat the general election and the process of voting to choose who will govern us as a political exercise that political parties get to play with, as if it belongs to them and them alone, as if they are doing us, the people, a favor by allowing us to vote, maybe I could tell you when the election is. The truth is the whole country should get shut down right now. Maybe y'all need to go in timeout for 10 minutes. The disregard and disrespect paid to those made vulnerable by Hurricane Dorian can never be excused. It can never be explained away. Talking about masterful governance and leadership. Let me tell you something. I am the figure out. I'm trying to determine the veracity That means the truthfulness and the authenticity of a situation that I was informed about in Abaco, where it turns out that there could be a small group of young people, minors, who were orphaned by Dorian, that have been surviving on their own with the support of community members since the storm. And y'all running around here talking about, Kiki, do you want somebody who's in quarantine to be standing next to you? When the truth is, the government has refused to use the resources available to them to put into place the testing mechanisms and strategies that would allow us to have a greater sense of whether we are in close proximity to somebody who is indeed positive or is likely to be positive. See, you had the power, capacity to do that. But you keep keying about who thinks that they should be able to vote with us people. This is not your things. The same way when we look at the communities of people living with disabilities and suggest to them, well, you see how it is. You just can't do that thing. This is their country too. Mm-hmm. This belonged to them. And I can be honest, politicians, it belonged to us more than it belonged to you, the politician. So are people running on? Is it pushing this dumbing down people? You're right, dummies will not inherit the earth. So pick up your constitution and educate yourself about your obligations to the nation and to other citizens. So, Erin, to the question, I know that people with a disability who are 65 or older can vote in the advance poll, but has there been any agitation or suggestion that people generally from 18, right, from 18 up, can vote in the advance poll if they have a disability?
Well, you know that within the disability population, there are persons who have multiple or varying disabilities. Even 9% of our current population that has multiple disabilities. So it is essential for our voting process to be accessible and inclusive. And what you're speaking to is a special voter. If you would look within the Parliamentary Act 49C, it speaks to special voters. Mm-hmm. And within that, it states a person with a disability or a person who's 65 or older. So the age limit is not, there's no age restriction on a person living with a disability. Once they are able to verify or provide a support letter of their disability, they will be accommodated on September 9th. Now, the most important part of all of this is who is a person with a disability.
Okay.
And so we would have to look at the Equal Opportunities Persons with Disabilities Act of 2014, and that speaks to persons with a long-term disability, including physical, mental, intellectual, developmental, or sensory impairments, and other health-related issues, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder full and active participation in society on an equal basis with others. And so when you think about that, if you fit within those parameters, you are a registered voter, and that's the key, must have registered within the parliamentary locations in order to be eligible to vote, but also to be eligible within the special voters eligibility. And there's a form, a K form, that has to be completed by September 4th. Now, what we find within our community is a few things, two top tier things. Access to this K form. We know that currently, if you go to elections.gov.bs, you're able to access the information about the election, and then it'll take you to the parliamentary registry department, which will then probably take you to the gateway platform that you're able to then apply for or fill out your K form. The issue we have with that is, one, obviously, there are persons who are not going to have devices or digital access to this platform, or i.e. online spaces. Then you also have the form that a PDF format. We know that persons with visual impairments, low vision, blindness, they use certain programs that turn text into speech. A PDF format is not accessible to them. And therefore, we need to provide a Word format, a Word document, a fillable Word document that they can complete in order to formalize or apply effectively for the advance poll on September 9th. And so what we have done, and after they filled that document out, we would then ask them to email that to the advance poll at bahamas.gov.bs. And once you have done that with your supporting document of it's called a disability support letter, and also your NID number, you will be registered. You will get a verification coming back to you via email, letting you know that they've received it and giving you further instructions of your approval or if there are any challenges. Now, quickly, I want to ensure persons that the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities the Secretariat has brought this up to the parliamentary department about the access for persons with disability, registered voters with disabilities. And there is a number that you can contact to give any complaints or any concerns concerning this, and that is 457-0159. You can voice or text that number, WhatsApp or LAN text. Whatever is viable or more sustainable for you, please choose the mode that is best for you. 457-0159 is the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities Secretariat number that you can contact for any concerns, including voting in the advance poll. We also have the parliamentary registration number 397-2000. 2000 397-2000, and you can ask for Mr. Aubrey or Mr. Duncanson. Now, one of the other issues that we have also had to address is just being more inclusive and knowing that if you do show up to the poll with a person that is designated as your voter assistant or voter accompanied voter assistant, you will be able to also utilize them as well. They will have to take an oath. If you're not clear exactly what that means, the Parliamentary Act goes into detail on number 63. It's called voting by incapacitated persons. And you can review that as well as the parameters that are set up and designed to ensure that you as a registered voter with a disability are able to vote at a polling location with much ease. Now, it does when you arrive what to do, what happens during and what happens after. And so this is where advocacy comes into play. And this is the time that you reach out to your members, your candidates, the persons that you desire within your constituency to be that winning MP or that winning candidate. And you advocate for your needs, your specific needs, whether it is transportation, whether it is needing assistance to vote. And know that when you are an accompanied voter assistant, only one person per person. It cannot be one designated person for all of the voters with disabilities who are registered for the September 9th advance poll or for September 16th, the election day.
Absolutely. Erin, I gotta beg you to come back on because we need to reiterate this again for members of the community in particular in advance of the advance poll, so we could ensure that they know what is available to accommodate them. So they will go and vote if they can. I also want to talk to you about possibly and other members of the community about experiences post the advance poll, right? About what happened when we go to the advance poll. And I just want to keep this issue into the forefront because when we talk about disenfranchisement, people often, like in this particular instance, we just go political, right?
Yes.
And a snap election, but we miss out on all of the other members of the community who are to some degree disenfranchised and there are barriers in their way between them and the voters' booth.
And so, Erin, thank you for that. And I absolutely accept, we all accept within our community, and we're very thankful and grateful for persons, disability allies like yourself, and human rights advocates that continue to amplify our voices. I would like to encourage persons to also go online. We're putting up the link for the fillable Word document for information, digital information that is accessible with image descriptions. And you can find that at EBC ONNECTS. So EB Connects. You can find that online on Facebook. If you want to Google it, you're able to also get access to it. But the whole goal is to ensure that our right to vote is extended, is accessible, and it's inclusive for our registered voters with disability.
Absolutely. And it don't matter if I'm going to vote for Reginald Raccoon, the smartest raccoon in St. Anne's constituency. It don't matter who I can vote for. What matters is that I have my opportunity to vote. Erin, I got to read through some text quickly. If you don't mind, it's going to be a whirlwind. The text says, one must really question whether the FNM thinks it is in their best interest to have a higher voter turnout. It seems that between voter suppression and smear tactics, that the FNM realizes that their approval rating is not very high and sinking. Voter suppression and smear tactics are not exclusive to the FNM. That's a part of the general political culture now. Another text, no, Erin, I do not support any electronic voting at this time or in the near future. I would rather those with COVID or in quarantine not vote than open the voting process to fraud. Furthermore, it seems the assumption is that the disenfranchised voters would vote against the FNM. I don't know that. I don't think that assessment is fair, but the fraud concern is very important. It's very fair intervention. And maybe tomorrow I'll read some of what Estonia does to manage fraud in their electronic system. I think another text, I think the problem is that politicians, all parties, take suggestions from your employees, the Bahamian electorate, personally rather than in the spirit of thinking out the box, especially during a time like this, a darn pandemic. That isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So we have to be creative and do some things differently. Just stop, you political cronies, and see the whole picture. Another text says, if anyone has been living elsewhere for 6 months, they should have registered in the constituency they now live. Not if they were from Abaco and displaced by a storm. I'm so 50-50 with this, Erin. It's every registered Bahamian God-given right to be able to vote. On the other hand, persons in quarantine due to the pandemic need not be amongst pretty much half of the nation's population at the time. You are right. The only way something like this can work is, in this kind of outbreak, is electronically the only way. Now, mind you, we could have a day that's only for people in quarantine to vote, but then we have to take in consideration that we're still putting lives at risk, right? We never forget that. But what are we willing to sacrifice to ensure that we can all live and die with dignity, to ensure that we can all participate in the process of governance? I am sorry I did not get to all of the text, but there was a fair balance of people who understand the importance of voting, but can't figure out the logistics on how to keep everybody safe. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them. And no, it's not only PLPs in quarantine. Thank you for tuning into the show. And if there's somebody near you who is a person living with disabilities, please consider how you can ensure that they get to the booth if they want to. Levon Miller and Unleashed is up next. Stay tuned to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Have a great day, Bahamas.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.